On today's Locked On Senators, it's a game day preview. The Sens are hosting the Anaheim Ducks to wrap up their homestand and hopefully make it 5 wins in a row.
And with Jake Sanderson still out of the lineup with the lower body injury, can Thomas Chabot continue to elevate his game in his absence?
We'll get into all that. Plus, Artem is a game time decision, and the Belleville Sens, huge third period. They come back to beat the first place team in their own division. We'll get into all that and more. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 982 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time ticketing app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Concerts, sports, events, it's all at Game Time. You can also follow the show on social media. We're at Send Central on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. The show is free and available on all podcast platforms, including on YouTube, where we say hello and let you know that a like, comment, and subscription go a long way to helping the show grow. Today is Thursday, February 15th, and Pilsy, we've got another must-win game on our hands here tonight.
We're calling this one a must-win as well?
Can't lose the Ducks after 4 straight wins.
All right, so it's a can't lose.
Can't lose.
Can't lose game, yeah. And I would agree, especially Ross at home, and no Trevor Zegras, no Alex Killorn for the Ducks, and this is a team that has been struggling lately. They just lost 5-0 to the Montreal Canadiens, and they only had 13 shots in that game. So this team really struggles to get things going here, and maybe that's a bad thing for the Sens. The Ducks are going to be pissed off. You ever dealt with a pissed off Duck? You don't want to deal with that. They're a handful, I'm sure. I can't say I've ever dealt with a pissed off Duck, but you wouldn't want that. So the Ottawa Senators are going to have to continue to take care of business just like they did with the Columbus Blue Jackets. You can't play down to this team just because it's lower in the standings than the Ottawa Senators, which is hard to do these days. So let's see the Ottawa Senators continue to push it, pedal to the metal, and take care of this Ducks team at home.
The Senators, by the way, had 11 shots on goal just in the third period of their last game against Columbus. They're outshot in that period by 6 as well, just to put in perspective how few 13 shots on goal is for an entire National Hockey League game. Pilsy, who would you rather fight, a pissed off duck or a pissed off chicken?
One-on-one?
Yeah.
You know what? I can deal with the chickens. I've dealt with chickens, so I'll take it's the enemy, right? So I'm taking the chicken in that one.
All right. Well, Senators still probably having some flashbacks of 2007 whenever we see this matchup, that Stanley Cup final that did not go Ottawa's way. Heck, that Ducks team, you look back at the names on that roster.
Amazing.
Pretty good team. Teemu Selanne, Scott Niedermayer, Chris Pronger, just to name a couple. And then the guys, well, Corey Perry's still in the league, which is pretty impressive, but he was out on the Ducks then. Obviously, Getzlaf, Penner was the other guy on that line. Andy McDonald. Don't say number 14. I don't want to hear the K word. We don't say that on this show, but he was there as well. But tonight's version of the Ducks, not quite the same. There's actually a couple like Ottawa area guys, though. We'll get to that in our lookout player, but let's focus on the Ottawa Senators. We actually led yesterday's show talking about special teams, and that would be a great way to really pull away in tonight's game. But at 5-on-5, you have to be able to beat this Anaheim Ducks team. With all due respect, I think that they have a bright future. They've got a lot of kids on their NHL lineup right now. 67s fans will remember Pavel Mintyukov just last season playing for them, and now he's doing his thing up there, but they don't score any goals and they allow a ton. Not a great recipe for success right now. In goals against per game, the Anaheim Ducks are 5th. Funny enough, the Senators are 3rd, and this is for the most goals against allowed, whereas goals for the Anaheim Ducks are 29th place whereas the Ottawa Senators are actually 7th in the National Hockey League when it comes to scoring goals. So that's where the real discrepancy is. So for me, I mean, there's a lot of keys to victory, but we could sum it all up by just saying, know you're better than your opponent and act like it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Ross. Like these rosters stacked up against each other are very different. They're in very different stages. The Ottawa Senators obviously would be like to do a lot better than they have been this season, but as of late, they're on a 4-game win streak and they're able to take care of teams like this. So I don't see any reason why they won't be able to take care of the Anaheim Ducks tonight. Probably, we're recording this early on. It's a farm day for me. I'm welcoming more chickens today. Speaking of chickens, so I got to jet out of here.
Or are you going to fight them?
No. I always welcome them. It's 50,000 new Sens fans, I always say. Yeah, you gotta be aware of an Anaheim Ducks team, even though their roster is a little weaker, because ironically, Ross, they are better statistically in power play percentage and penalty kill percentage than the Ottawa Senators, right? So still, even though this team doesn't score a lot, they're able to take advantage of the man advantage better than the Ottawa Senators, and their penalty kill is also better. So I think key to victory here, Ross, is dominate 5-on-5.
Have to do it. And one way to do it is get some production from the back end. The Senators had only 5 defensemen in the lineup on Tuesday because of their cap situation. But with an emergency recall, it can be league minimum plus $100,000. Now, maybe it's all for naught because Artem Zub, in a perfect world, plays tonight. Again, we're recording before the morning skate, but Jacques Martin sounded, I think, somewhat hopeful that Artem Zub would play in tonight's game. That would be a great sign, and you just slide him back in, and away you go with the top 6. Put him beside Thomas Chabot, and away you go. But if that's not the case, then they could call up MacEwen or a couple other names like Jacob Larson, and Larson was a scratch in last night's game. Now, there is a vet rule in the AHL. You can only have a certain number of vets, and so some veterans are going to have to sit every now and again, especially with Rourke, Chartier, and with Zack MacEwen returning to that level. But man, hopefully, he is all right. And by the way, the Ottawa Senators, breaking news from 1 minute ago. Remember during the COVID year, the Senators got all those coaches fired? Well, former Senator, the only other number 11 in Senators history, Jarmo Kekalainen, has just been fired from the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Wow. Okay. I mean, if you lose the Ottawa Senators, like you mentioned, they're killers here. That's interesting news. I mean, it's too bad this comes after our game with them, so we won't get too deep into it. But that's a guy who has been at the helm of that franchise for a long time and with limited success. I think overall he did a decent job with the tools he was given, and in Columbus you can only do so much. But it was time for them to change the guard there.
We'll leave that for Locked On Blue Jackets, Locked On NHL. Pillsy, I was tap dancing. I was getting into my point, and then boom, lost track. That is big news, though. Thomas Chabot is who I was trying to get to there, because whether it's 5 defensemen or if Zub's back, they need Thomas Chabot to play at the level that he has over the last number of games. And look, we can make it the whole 20-game sample size like we discussed yesterday, where Thomas Chabot, since coming back from his injury, the stats all look very good. But you could even zoom in even more from this last 3-game sample where he has been put in a position, the last 4 games actually, because you can throw the Nashville game in there as well. His average ice time, Pillsy, in his last 4 games is 28-16. And I know there are 2 overtime games involved there, so it's going to pump it up a little bit for Thomas Chabot. But the way that he's being asked to play the number of minutes that he used to play when the team didn't care about wins and losses, they just needed to put their best players on the ice, is super impressive to me. That +8 in his last 3 games stands out. 2 assists there. Could have had another. Could have had a goal against Toronto. Hit the post in the 3rd period on a power play. Like, they need Thomas Chabot to play the way he's playing right now, and this team might be going, into the future feeling a lot better about themselves.
Yeah, and I think he can play that style, Ross. Thomas Chabot likes playing a lot of minutes. I feel like he's one of those defensemen that it takes a while for him to get into the groove of the game. And then when he does, he's able to play a more consistent, stable game. And, I feel like also when he is that number 1 guy, maybe he doesn't feel the need to push it so much offensively. And when he does try to do too much offensively, that's where we see him with turnovers in his own zone, trying to get a pass through the middle of the ice, or, a little weak on a puck or something like that. Whereas I feel like when he realizes he's kind of the top guy, no Jake Sanderson, he tightens up his game a little bit, and you can see that. And he's better on the power play lately. The one thing I'll always give Thomas Chabot, I know there's a lot of people, you watch his game and you're like, oh man, he's slowing it down too much. He's slowing things down, which I agree. He does do that a little too often for my liking. But one thing he does very well that I don't think anyone on this team has been able to kind of replicate is that fake shot, smooth pass. He does the fake shot, smooth pass, and you want it to go to either Jacob Chikrin or Josh Norris in their one-timer spot, but those guys haven't really had those opportunities on the power play. But that is one area where I think Thomas Chabot does it better than anyone else.
And even defensively, he's been a lot better in his own end. He's been really impressive, actually. So I hope we get to continue seeing this from Thomas Chabot. In his last 4 games, he also has 8 shots on goal. And even more impressive than that, he has 12 block shots in his last 4 games. If you go to the 5 games before that, he had 5, 1 in each game. And now he's really kind of putting his body on the line, and he's playing a more aggressive style. This has to be something that's being coached, though, right now, because I'm noticing it from a number of defensemen, Eric Brandstrom, Jacob Chikrin, everybody. When the puck's in the corner, no longer are they just going in with their sticks and fishing and hoping that it comes out and making a play. They're driving through the offensive player and then trying to pin the puck and then getting help of a second player coming in and picking up the puck and trying to break out. More of a team style in this one. We've got more game day preview coming up. I'm going to ask Pilsy his ice time predictions for the 4th line after we saw an all-time low against the Columbus Blue Jackets on Tuesday night. We'll get into that. We'll look into the Anaheim Ducks lineup and a whole lot more. This is Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Mary J's. Mary J's is a locally owned cannabis dispensary in the Ottawa area. 3 best friends started off making a life-changing decision, and they grinded. They worked hard, and their dedication has led to 4 stores in the Ottawa area. So you know they got to be doing something right. The Ottawa locations are in Riverside South, Orleans, Greeley, and Russell. They got lots of spots to help you out, and they offer the best and newest products in the market. And they're adding new stuff to the menu all the time so you can keep it fresh. They got whatever you want. Whether you're a rookie and you're looking to dip your toe in and try some new stuff, or you're a grizzled vet and you already know what you want and you want to be in and out of there quickly, they got you. Mary J's offers competitive pricing. In fact, they will price match any store in Ottawa. That means you're guaranteed to get the best price around at any of Mary J's location. So you got good products, good pricing. Well, to complete that trio, you need good service. And that's what Mary J's has as well. They got friendly bud tenders who are always ready to help you out. One of the owners, Dashy, absolute beauty, diehard Sens fan. You can more often than not find him at one of the 4 locations. So go say what up to Dashy, pick his brain about the Sens and all the newest, latest, greatest products that Mary J's has to offer. Check it out today, guys. It's Mary J's Dispensary.
Today's episode is also brought to you by a new sponsor alert. Woo! New sponsor alert. Today's sponsor is Camino Consulting. How would you like to get to know someone better in an hour, more than you would in a year? Understanding one another better prevents small misunderstandings from becoming big ongoing fights. After providing more than 20 years of service to small and mid-sized businesses, helping manage groups, navigate conflict, and onboarding new employees, Camino Consulting is offering a digital seminar for families and couples. Did your Valentine's Day gift of tickets using Game Time not go over as well as you'd hoped? Well, you can get couples and family online seminar for 25% off for the month of February using the discount code Locked On. Again, that's a discount code Locked On, and you'll get 25% off the rest of the month just by going to www.caminoconsulting.ca. That's CaminoConsulting.ca, or mention Locked On when reaching out for a business seminar and receive the first 5 profiles free. If you need consulting, you need Camino Consulting, the official consultant of Locked On. Go check them out, CaminoConsulting.ca, or mention Locked On when you're with them. That is Camino Consulting. All right, Pillsy, it's game day for the Ottawa Senators from the Canadian Tire Centre in Canada, Ontario. If you're thinking of heading to the game tonight, or you already have tickets, make sure you go check out the Glebe Central Pub Shuttle. Always the best vibes to and from the CTC. We also want to mention we've got a ticket discount code available for Monday's Belleville Sens game against the number 1 team. I believe they're playing on Monday. It's going to be a very tough test for the Belleville Sens, but they're celebrating Belly's birthday. So that is easily the difference in that game. Or it's because former replay guy, Brandon Piller, will be in attendance along with Lalim's Martian. The Martian actually designed these jerseys that they're going to wear on Monday. Super cool, man. They're playing the Hershey Bears on Monday, who were Calder Cup champions last season. So to be the best, you got to beat the best. And man, getting those vets back helped a ton. Let's touch on that right now, and then we'll get into the full game day preview, because I watched that whole game, and I was full degenerate. I was on FanDuel. I was having a great time with this one. And when Syracuse scored 3 goals unanswered, bang, 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 in the second period, I was like, no way. But thank goodness they reassigned Rourke, Chartier, and Zack MacEwen. Those two just went off. They scored the final 4 goals. Not the final, because the Stapchuk, and they actually ended up needing that Stapchuk exclamation mark, or what was an insurance goal at the time. His 10th of the year, by the way, so stick taps to him. Oscar Pettersson got his first assist in the American Hockey League, so we'd love to see that. We got to get Pistol Pete back on the show. But Pillsy, this to me, it just proves the difference in talent between the AHL and NHL. When guys like Rourke Chartier and Zack MacEwen go down, and they look like absolute stars right away.
Yeah, I mean, Rourke Chartier looked like an offensive weapon. He had a 2-on-1 with Igor Sokolov, and he looks him off and snipes it. Like, that's the confidence he has down there. And then, if you haven't seen it, go check out Ross posted on Twitter at Sen Central. Zack MacEwen's second goal of the night was a dirty dangle and a great finish. Like, that's the thing. He's got hands. He's got hands when he has the opportunity to use them. We've seen a couple nice goals with him up in Ottawa as well. And with 0.3 seconds left in the game, the Crunch end up getting a goal. Too little, too late, though. The Belleville Senators still win 6-5.
Wasn't too late to ruin my puck line, my half a unit.
Unfortunate, Ross. My sympathies to you on that one. But the Belleville Senators, they're not too worried about that, because they got the W here. And as Ross mentioned, that's a big win up against the top team in the division.
And tomorrow they're playing against the Toronto Marlies. So empty net opportunity. Igor Sokolov, he'd be the guy to do it, wouldn't he?
Yeah, or I could see Crooker doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We're working on a time with Crooker. Footy's great. Footy's helping us out, but the boys have been traveling and up and down and everything recently. So we're going to get Crooker on, talk about his AHL All-Star experience. And actually, I was listening to, and at intermission, Ryan Bonus joined Footy in the booth. And the 3 players he kept going back to: Zack Stapchuk, Tyler Clevin, and Tyler Boucher. Boucher was playing on the 4th line in yesterday's game, but hopefully the offense starts to come. And we just said, play as many games this year as you possibly can, and then let it ride from there. So we'll be following along for Belleville with their weekend Friday against the Toronto Marlies. And then, of course, that all roads lead to Monday, Family Day Monday, where Pillsy and Martian will be at the game. They've got a busy schedule, though, because they're in Utica on Saturday as well. So that's the AHL for you, man. It's nonstop action down there. Nonstop action for the Senators as well. They're in the span of a really busy part of their schedule. We mentioned the game tonight, 7:00 puck drop down at Canadian Tire Centre. And for them, they're in a stretch right now where you just need to win not only the home games, But the Senators' road record has been pretty pitiful throughout the season. So after tonight's game, the Senators will be in Chicago on Saturday afternoon, in Tampa on Family Day Monday, 7 o'clock. And then on the Tuesday, back-to-back, they'll play the Florida Panthers, the pack of hyenas, as they're being referred to, and rightfully so. Those guys attack with a pack mentality, and they just absolutely waxed the Pittsburgh Penguins last night. Who's cheering for the Penguins' downfall? This guy right here. Doesn't bother me seeing them lose a few games. But Pillsy, we already got into our keys to victory, but let's get into the Ottawa Senators. I mean, again, they haven't had their morning skate, but if there's one thing I know about Jacques Martin, he's not going to be quick to change the lineup as much as maybe before. So I'm pretty confident this is what we're going to see tonight for the Ottawa Senators. It would be Josh Norris with Brady Tkachuk and Drake Batherson, Tim Stützle with Matthew Joseph and Claude Giroux, Shane Pinto with Ridley Gregg and Vladimir Tarasenko, and Mark Kostelik with Dominic Kubalik and Parker Kelly. On the back end, Thomas Chabot with Artem Zub, but we've put the asterisks if Artem Zub, game time decision, I would expect to be the case. Jacob Chikrin with Jacob Bernard-Docker and Eric Brandstrom with Travis Hamonic. Credit to Anton Forsberg. I would call what he did against Columbus. He battled. He made some great saves, probably a couple he want back. I think you're going with Korpisalo tonight. Get him back in there. He's been great in his last 3 games. Pilsy, you are a locked-on player to watch.
Yeah, my locked-on player tonight is someone who unfortunately hasn't been great in the last 3 games. I'm going to be locked on to number 18, Tim Stützle. This is another opportunity for him to try to get things going again. No goals, no points in his last 3 games, and just hasn't looked like himself recently. So I think this is a great chance I'd love to see him get a power play goal, Ross. Like, I feel like it's been forever since he's got one on the power play. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but
you think? You know how long it's been since he had a power play goal?
When?
He hasn't had one this season.
0? Okay. Well, see, sometimes you got to trust your gut. I thought he would have had at least 1 or 2, but he's been struggling to put it in the net, and we mentioned it in the postcast last game. This guy can't buy a goal. He had so many opportunities with the net empty, and it just slips away from him. Defender gets a step on him, gets a stick in the way. All those kinds of things were happening. So let's see a Timmy Superstar power play goal tonight. Let's go.
Yeah, I love that for you. I was thinking about going with another guy who's struggling, but let's get some good vibes into the chat here, and let's go with the captain, Brady Tkachuk. This is one of those where I know I probably said something similar against Columbus, but when you're playing bad teams, your best players need to lead you, and they did against Columbus. So I'm hoping for that again today, which is no surprise why Pilsy and I both have the 2 best players on the team. I mean, you could probably make an argument for Claude Giroux the way he's playing, but Brady Tkachuk's the alpha on this team, and I mean, he's pulling away if you're just looking at it from a goals perspective. I know talking about it the day after he gets a hat trick is certainly exemplifies it a little bit more closely, but he's got 8 more goals than anybody else on the team. He is the leader, and against the Anaheim Ducks, he should be eating duck tonight for sure, roasting it up, maybe throwing a little bit of parsnip puree on the plate there. What else would I put? Some roasted carrots, maybe a little glaze on them there, and away we go. This is a game the Senators have to win. You need your best players to be that. Brady Tkachuk coming off a hat trick. Brady Tkachuk, by the way, who's been playing some of his better hockey all season as well. So that's why I'm hopeful that we could see kind of a bit of magic from the top guys tonight. Brady Tkachuk in his last 5 games has 7 goals. Is that good?
That's
6.
pretty good, Ross.
6. Still good.
6. Still good. So, yeah, I love that. I anticipate both Brady and Timmy will have good games tonight.
Okay, now up next, let's discuss the Anaheim Ducks. My goodness. Get your pen and paper out because you might have to write down some of these names. It is not your dad's Anaheim Ducks. These Ducks, they're young, but they're feisty. Can't take them for granted. They've also got a few Ottawa connections. We'll get into that next. This is Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Hey, are you sitting here watching the Locked On Senators podcast and you're like, you know what? This game day preview, it's getting me amped up for tonight's game. I'm going to go to tonight's game. But you're like, surely it's too late to get tickets. It's the same day. No, you're wrong. You can get tickets with Game Time. Game Time is the ticketing app that makes it fast and easy for you to buy tickets to all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, best price guarantee. All that takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. It's the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view of your seat before you buy, so you know what you're going to get. All-in prices gives you the total up front, so you're not being like, oh, I got a sweet deal. Then you get to checkout and you're like, wait, this is now double the price. What's going on here? No, none of that with Game Time. And they know that time is money, so you can buy your tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Boom, tickets on your phone. That's the Game Time way. We love Game Time. Ross and I have used it many times. We're going to be using it in the future because there's no better ticketing app. And with the Game Time guarantee, you always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section of the row for less, Game Time's going to credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
All right, Pilsy, Sens game day. Fire me right up. And make sure after the game you fire up YouTube, where you can go and check out the live reaction right here on Locked On Senators. It's become such an awesome community. The chat is buzzing. I looked it up, and on Saturday's postcast live, not afterwards, when all the Leaf fans infiltrated live, there were 2,700 chat messages. When we started that out, it was like 2 or 7 chat messages. So it's awesome to see the growth of the show, and it's for fans by fans, and we want all the reaction, all that raw emotion right after the game. It's like those post-game interviews in the locker room where you might say something dumb because you're still just emotional from what you saw out on the ice. So join us in the postcast, but if you do miss it, the postcast is available on our audio feeds wherever you get your podcasts as well. And we also want to mention, shout out to Doodling Daryl. Our new merch is live. It is smoking hot. Shout out to Doodling Daryl. So if you head to our link tree, you can go there. Gator is our supplier for merch. It's a local Ottawa company as well. I just placed my order. Pilsy just placed his order. So we're going to be rocking some sick Sens Central swag in the next few weeks. So make sure you go check that out. Great way to help support the show. Same with our Patreon. You can subscribe to Patreon, just $5 a month, and you get bonus episode every single week. All right, that's the housekeeping, Pilsy. And now it's time to cook some duck. What we got on the menu tonight? The Anaheim Ducks. And I still can't believe that Jakob Silfverberg is still on this team. We'll get to that, though. Top line for the Anaheim Ducks. Leo Carlsson, top 3 pick last year. Great player, great young player, also 18 years old. So it's Leo Carlsson with Adam Henrique and Ryan Strome as his wingers. Good carp lad. Mason McTavish is centering the second line between Frank Vetrano and Troy Terry. The third line is Isaac Lundestrom with Max Jones and Jakob Silfverberg. Silfverberg. And then Sam Carrick's on the fourth line with Ross Johnston, great name, and Beau-Olivier Groulx. On defense, it's Jackson Lacombe with Cam Fowler. You've got Urho Vakanainen with Radko Gudas, and you've got former 67 Pavel Minchikov with Ilya Lyubushkin. Unsure who starts in goal. I hope it's John Gibson, because this Lucas Dostal kid is the real deal. I'm a big fan of his with the Anaheim Ducks. Pilsy, who's your lookout player to watch?
My lookout player to watch is someone that I hope all Sens players, when they're on the ice, are looking out for. It's Radko Gudas. This guy is an absolute animal out there. I think he kind of really introduced himself to the league in the Florida Panthers run to the Stanley Cup Finals last season. Everybody was able to see how much of an impact player he is, and he got rewarded with that, Ross. The Anaheim Ducks offered him a massive deal in free agency. Well, not massive, but for his age, 33 years old, he got 3 years at $4 million a year, so a $12 million deal. And let me tell you, he's earning that money. He's been a big part of this Anaheim Ducks team. For a team that struggles like the Ducks do, he's been able to stay consistent. I'm just looking up his plus minus amazed me. He's a plus 16 on this Anaheim Ducks team. 6 goals, 7 assists, and this guy lays out hits in his last games. 4 hits, 8 hits, 4 hits, 4 hits, 6 hits, 3 hits, 6, 6, 6. Like, this guy is leveling people out there. So, like I mentioned, I'm going to be looking out for number 7, but I hope everyone on the ice is looking out for him, because not only does he hit a lot, but if he lines you up in the trolley tracks, choo-choo, it's the Gudas train, you're in for some trouble. So look out for Radko Gudas.
Yeah, you really have to. He's a right side defenseman as well. So those left wingers for Ottawa have to be aware when he's out on the ice. My lookout player is Mason McTavish. He just missed 2 weeks with injury, came back, played his first game against the Montreal Canadiens. And I'm happy for him too, because obviously being a local kid, he wanted, I'm sure, to be a part of this game. He did play in Ottawa last year, was held off the score sheet, played 16 minutes in a loss to Ottawa. That game ended 3-0 in favor of the Ottawa Senators. But I think that Mason McTavish is going to have a very bright future in the National Hockey League. He's big, he's mean, he plays the game in the corners, he's not scared of anybody. Remember that story from before the draft where he was challenging Claude Giroux in summer skates? Yep. And going after him. So he's not going to be your typical second-year pro, typical 21-year-old in the league. He's built like a brick house, like 213 pounds, and he plays the game hard. He's got 31 points in 44 games this year for the Ducks and had 43 points as a rookie last year. Like, he's a bright spot on a really, really bad team. So not only offensively, though, he also hits and he also gets himself into positions to succeed. And we always talk about how it's usually like the 3rd or 4th year where players get better at faceoffs. Not Mason McTavish, dude. He's clicking at 53.6% right now this season. So I'm going to be looking out for Mason McTavish. I'm sure he'll have friends and family in the arena tonight. And he's going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting because there's not a whole lot else down the middle. And Leo Carlsson obviously is a guy to watch as a young player, but he's a guy who he's had these bursts, but as you'd expect with any young player, he's either got, like, I think he's got as many multi-point games as he does 1-point games. Like, he's not, that's not quite true, but he does have 4 multi-point games and only has a total of 20 points on the season in 33 games. So those are 2 young players that will be stars, but are they yet? We'll find out. Tonight's going to be a good test for them with Ottawa having strength down the middle. Feels crazy to say, but with the lineup the way it is for Ottawa, they finally do have some strength down the middle. Pilsy, 7:00 game tonight. Final thoughts on today's show.
I'm excited for this game. It's another chance for Ottawa to kind of flex their offensive might. Like we mentioned, we're recording early, so we're not sure who's going to start, but I'd like to see Korpisalo get back into it here. He's been playing well as of late, and I think Forsberg had a nice game, but you don't want to push it too much after injury. So I think likely we'll see Korpisalo, and I'm gonna be checking out our friends over at FanDuel, trying to get a couple extra shekels, capitalizing on this one. Some prop bets, some Sens money line, some Sens regulation money line, the puck line. I'm gonna be all over this one on the board for the Ottawa Senators. So fired up for another Ottawa Senators game day. Let's make it 5 straight wins. Let's go.
Sens are minus 196 right now. That's
appropriate.
The win tonight. Yeah, I'm a big parlay Shane Pinto point with a Senators win, and away we go for that. And if you can't do that, then hit him with the Shane Pinto anytime goal, as he's due. He hasn't scored in a game, so he's probably due, right? No, all jokes aside, actually, I think it's been 2 games, right? Because he got the assist in each of the last 2 games against Toronto and then against Columbus. But Pilsy, final thoughts, and it's a question. How many minutes do you play the 4th line tonight? Like, do you try to get them a few extra touches, whether it's early on in the game, or are you just trusting Jacques Martin to dictate the flow of what he thinks is appropriate after none of them played more than a shift in the 3rd period last game?
Unfortunately, I bet Casty plays less than 6 minutes.
I love how yesterday they asked him about Kaslik, and he's like, yeah, he played a regular shift on Saturday. I looked up, played 7:33 on Saturday.
Yeah.
And 2 shifts in the 3rd period. He just doesn't trust them. It's as simple as that.
No, and that's the issue. And then Kubalik, I think the only way he gets above 7 minutes is if he gets some time on the power play. And Parker Kelly, though, I bet Parker Kelly will see right around 10 minutes. So because he gets a lot of shorthanded time, and I think he'll maybe get a shift or two up the lineup depending on how things go in this game. But yeah, not going to see a whole lot from the fourth line, which, you know what, obviously is unfortunate for those guys. You'd like to get them in the mix more, but with how good this top 9 is for the Sens, just roll those guys consistently. They're so talented, and that's how you're going to have success leaning on those players.
Yeah, very fair. How about the Sens penalty kill over the last month? Since January 13th, that win over the San Jose Sharks, and obviously they're 8-2-2, so all the numbers are going to be a little inflated other than that 15% on the power play, which could be improved. The Sens have the third best penalty kill in the National Hockey League. Only Carolina and Calgary have a better penalty kill than the Ottawa Senators. Sens are clicking at 88.2%. Okay, final question for you. And we tweet this out at Sens Central. Go have your say. And not only have your say, but go scroll through. Some of these pictures are so awesome. Who is your favorite Sens player all time that also played for the Anaheim Ducks?
I mean, I totally forgot Danny Heatley played there. He only played 6 games there. So I'm going to go with Heater on this one, Ross. I'm copying you, but I love me some Danny Heatley. So I got to say it.
50-06, 50-07. A lot of people saying Bobby Ryan, rightfully so. And what I would say to that is, can't believe Silfverberg, who was in that trade 10 years ago, is still playing for the Anaheim Ducks. I got his jersey in his rookie year. He only played 48 games for Ottawa, but people are so excited. He was such a star in the making in terms of that damn shot. Unreal, though. And he was automatic in the shootout as well. I'm sure overall, though, he's still a great shootout guy over the course of his career. But a lot of people saying Silfverberg. We got some other great names there. I didn't realize Ray Emery played for the Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah.
A lot of people saying Jason York. A lot of people. We got a Michael Delzato in the mix there.
Uncle Deli.
So it's always fun seeing some people take this very seriously and other people try to have some fun with it. Either way, go check that out. Chris Kelly, another answer. He had a shot of espresso, decaf with his time in the Anaheim Ducks at the end of his career. I think he went there to prepare for the Olympics.
I think that it was one of those. Yep.
Yeah. Captain Canada, Chris Kelly. I'm so happy NHLers are back at the Olympics, but that's a story for another day. Today, we say goodbye and let you know that we'll see you tonight in the postcast. Wager accordingly. I know I said this last time. I was wrong. Tonight, I am right. It is a Martian and Pilsy postcast. Unstoppable Force meets the Anaheim Ducks. So good luck to you fellas. I'll be in the background producing, and we will be back to break it all down tomorrow. Also, stick taps to Mark Mathot. Our guy is on his way to London right now to be honored into the London Knights Hall of Fame. Nice. That's awesome. And we've been trying to work out a time. Next week, you'll see Mark Mathot back on here. A distinguished Mark Mathot following a great weekend for him and his family. So we want to pass on our congratulations to our guy, Mark Mathot. For today, though, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.